Welcome to Stone Soup Poetry, everybody. I am your host, Chad Parento. This is the online Zoom version of Stone Soup, the latest incarnation of it during the COVID. Well, I was originally going to say COVID months, but it is more like COVID years these days, isn't it? I'm glad for and thankful for all of you for coming here week after week or whenever you can. Hi, Margaret. I am very excited to have some new familiar faces here, and I'm very glad. And speaking of familiar faces, Kevin Gallagher was a familiar face from the 90s to the early aughties. His last feature, I believe, for us was back in 2008, and it almost looks like he was a teenager back then. It feels so long ago. I'll have to share the picture later, but it's great that he has a new collection. He's here with us to return to Stone Soup, and there's going to be a lot of people returning to Stone Soup that we haven't seen for a while. That's the theme this week, and of course we have the open mics. We're gonna get to that right now, and let's see who I've chosen to open up for the open mic. If he can tilt his camera a little bit down so he looks less like Kilroy, just a smidge, sir. That would be Mr. John Sturm, our orator or orator extraordinaire, and that looks great, John. So without further ado, Mr. John Sturm.
Thank you, Chad. E. Cummings. Here is little Effie's head, whose brains were made of gingerbread. When the judgment day comes, God will find 6 crumbs stooping by the coffin lid, waiting for something to rise, as the other somethings did. You imagine his surprise, bellowing through the general noise, "Where is Effie, who was dead?" To God, in a tiny voice, "I am May," the first crumb said, whereupon its fellow 5 crumbs chuckled as if they were alive. And number 2 took up the song. "Might I'm called and did no wrong." Cried the third crumb, "I am should, and this is my little sister could, with our big brother who is wood. Don't punish us, for we were good." And the last crumb, with some shame, whispered,
Sorry about that, John. You might have to start out. You might have to start again because it was a mute thing. Please mute, because I was trying to get rid of the people who are unmuted. So if you can start over again, I am very apologetic. But people, please mute yourselves, because we have a speaker view, and then if somebody talks, then that person is kind of cuts in visually. So let's have you go again, John. I'm very sorry.
Okay. E. Cummings. Here is little Effie's head, whose brains are made of gingerbread. When the judgment day comes, God will find 6 crumbs stooping by the coffin lid, waiting for something to rise, as the other somethings did. You imagine his surprise, bellowing through the general noise, "Where is Effie, who was dead?" To God, in a tiny voice, "I am May," the first crumb said, whereupon its fellow 5 crumbs chuckled as if they were alive. And number 2 took up the song. "Might I'm called and did no wrong." Cried the third crumb, "I am should, and this is my little sister could, with our big brother who is wood. Don't punish us, for we were good." And the last crumb, with some shame, whispered unto God, "My name is Must, and with the others I've been Effie, who isn't alive." Just imagine it, I say, God amid a monstrous din. Watch your step and follow me. Stooping by Effie's little inn. Want a match, or can you see which the 6 subjunctive crumbs twitch like mutilated thumbs? Picture his peering biggest whey-colored face, on which a frown puzzles, but I know the way. Nervously, whose eyes approve the blessed while his ears are crammed with the strenuous music of the innumerable capering damned. Staring wildly up and down, here we are now, judgment day. Cross the threshold, have no dread. Lift the sheet back in this way. Here is little Effie's head, whose brains are made of gingerbread. Some quotations before William Butler Yeats. Pliny the Younger. Force of character rightly applied can do much good. The misfortune is there is less force of character about good people than about bad people. And as ignorance begets rashness and knowledge produces deliberation, so modesty is apt to restrain the action of virtue, while audacity can become the aid of vice. Martin Luther King, Jr. It seems to be one of the great tragedies of life that the children of darkness are wiser in their generation and more zealous, more conscientious, more determined than the children of light. William Butler Yeats, The Second Coming. Turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falcon. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood dim tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation's at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles the sight. Somewhere in sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, a gaze blank and pitiless as the sun is moving its slow thighs, while all about it real shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. And what rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches to Bethlehem to be born. So wrote William Butler Yeats.
Thank you very much, John. Having issues with the mute button, but we're going to continue on. And let me see. I'm going to take a second to, I'm just going over the open mic list, and let's see who we got next. Yes, it is Mr. Ed Galt. Mr. Ed, Gentleman Galt, are you ready for us?
We'll be here in a second. Didn't think
All
I was
right,
gonna be
then.
coming up this soon.
Then let me go to Miss Nancy Dodson. Nancy, are you there? There you go.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Nancy.
A loss. The great erasure, black and red, is like a lapse of memory. Speak sharply to me, I forget your words. I like happiness in paradise. Yes, I remember now.
Thank you very much, Nancy. And let's see who we have next. Is Mr. Galt ready now, or does he need another minute? If so, I can go to somebody else. Okay, with that, we will go to somebody else again. Let's see. Let's go to open mic regular, Mr. Chris Fitzgerald. Chris Fitzgerald, I'm unmuting you. Are you able to go? No one was expecting to go this soon, were they? All right. It is then with a light heart that I'm going to go to my definite shoo-in, the person who I know is ready to read. Let us welcome up someone who's been a regular since the very beginning, from a hospital bed to during the COVID to the comfort of her own home now. Let's welcome up Miss Carol Weston.
Oh, how do you do?
How do you do?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so last night I was up till 4:18 because I was remembering this poem that I wrote 55 years ago. Its title is August 1, 1966, and it goes on forever. I mean, I wrote 36 pages in 4 hours, but I've lost the poem. So whatever I have to find it. Okay, it's been lost for so long, and so let me see. Steve Jonas, the poet, jazz poet, he said, send it to my publisher in England, and Muriel Rukeyser said, whatever happened after that great day. And so anyway, so apparently I showed it people, but I didn't dare publish it. So this is the Caverns.
Carol, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Oh,
Can you bring the phone closer?
no, I can't, but I'll try to be louder, I guess.
Okay.
Should I repeat that or
No,
not?
I think you're fine.
Okay. So this is the Caverns from August 1, 1966. That's 55 years ago. He comes to my caverns, his rock force of water is beating my sand in. His fountains are sprouting inside my dry caverns. His water of motion is stirring my stillness. I'm lying and waiting, his rocking of water. His waters so heavy, they break down my cavern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Chris Fitzgerald should be joining us very shortly. And Mr. Galt just literally popped up, so we're going to give him the virtual podium. Are you ready, sir? You'll have to unmute yourself. There you go.
Are you speaking to me?
I'm speaking to Mr. Galt, Ed Galt. You're not unmuted yet, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. Here he goes. Okay, employee file. I in the dossier they keep on you at work. It's my job to keep all the information that is relevant. Your resume and cover letter, your W-2, medical coverage info. Those are the minimal requirements. Then there are your evaluations and other statements made about you by the director and every other supervisor that you've ever had. There are the letters written about you by the customers themselves, as well as what your coworkers may have written. Finally, there is whatever note that you wrote to the supervisor on any given issue at any given time. They wrote their evaluations of you, that you were demanding and argumentative. You might have been asking for a modest cost of living increase, or simply explaining your side of a story. I don't know. It doesn't matter. I know only what is submitted. That is what I show to whomever consults me. Whether it's your next supervisor or your next employer, I will follow you. Believe it. Now thank you. I am working on some new material, and hopefully I can get that together in a book sometime. Might be one of those long-term projects, but thank you very much.
In school, was that your permanent record?
That's right. These things follow you.
Chad, you're muted. Can't hear you, Chad.
Hear me now? Okay, good. But that's everybody's permanent record. This bad mic tonight is going on my permanent record. Sorry for the snafus tonight, but we're going to keep on going. I'm going to ask Chris Fitzgerald if he's ready to go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I did this during the Republican primaries, 2016. I said that Donald Trump was a fucking smart-ass wannabe, and I did it on two movies of my favorite New York City smartasses. One was Groucho Marx, and the second piece here was Humphrey Bogart. I came here after a 20-year absence on August 3rd, 2015. I remember the date so clearly. That was the day my 96-year-old mother died. My mother wasn't just my best friend the last 10 years of her life. My mother was just as good company as anyone I ever met. Even at 96, when she had her A game on, it was as good as anyone else's in the room. She seemed to be able to get as much joy out of the 60 seconds that the unforgiven minute would allow. I would go to her house on Monday nights and watch movies, perhaps a BBC detective series. I'd always bring her some freshly made chocolate or butterscotch pudding with real whipped cream. My mother wasn't poor, though Donald Trump would have considered her a friggin' loser. Casablanca was one of the movies we would watch, say once every 6 months, always catching something new that we had missed before. My earliest memories of Casablanca have a Cambridge connection. 30, 40 years ago, Harvard Square movie theater, across from the train station, across from the dormitories, blocking Harvard Yard. Right on Mass Ave, before videos, before DVDs, before live streaming. If you wanted to see a movie that was 6 months old, 6 years old, 60 years old, you had to go to a second-run movie house. Harvard Square had one of the best on the planet. For $2.53, you got to see two movies. Whomever did the arrangements was extremely talented. Two Scorsese, Lum de Lie, Mean Streets. You talking to me, fuckhead? Taxi Driver. Two Wordmulers, Swept Away, Seven Beauties, Bertolucci, Bergman, Godard, Garland with that rainbow thing, Cooper with that clock that wouldn't stop ticking. Do not forsake. I think I saw Casablanca with African Queen. The first time I saw it, it changed my life. No, it changed the way I saw Casablanca. I guess one of the rituals of the freshmen, sophomores, Harvard University, during the singing of the Marseillaise in the movie, 20, 30, 18, 19-year-old kids would stand up in front of the seats and sing along, outrageously entertaining. I now stand and sing. Sure, I don't know all the words, but that's not the only song I have that problem with. Back to the Bogart gesture. He's upstairs in the office, engaged in a Hollywood Bay battle with Ingrid Bergman's husband. Ask your wife. Ask your wife. The German soldiers in the saloon downstairs have a few beers in them at this point. Gather around the piano. Let's sing some German fight songs. Their fatherland, their fatherland. Victor Laszlo, Ilsa's husband, hears the German sing, doesn't like it, puts the Babe battle on hold, goes downstairs and asks the saloon band to play La Marseillaise. There's stirrings, but no pronounced movements. Bogey comes down, gives the band the affirmative nod. The band jumps up and plays 2 minutes or so of the celebratory music the cinematic world has ever had to offer. What the free French, the free Europeans, the anti-heroic American are saying, similar to what poets have been saying for thousands of years when they feel besieged. Go blank yourself, horseshit. You may be winning now, but the game isn't over yet. The last time we watched that movie, my mother, the last 2 years of her life, basically bedridden, wheelchair, etc. When the French national anthem's winding down, the Spanish guitar plays about to chant. My mother sits up erect in the bed, beats it by a second, and joyously announces, "Vive la France!" Maybe I did have some influence on my mother's behavior, but this was unscripted and unrehearsed. My mother was in the moment, 1,000 times more beautiful than anything on the screen. In 2 years, or 20 or 40, before I hand her my dinner pill, hop on the last rattler, bite the big one. If in my last moment of consciousness, I have a vision of my mother chanting, "Vive la France," what can I say? I've had a beautiful life. In closing, I'm from a different era. Growing up, public speakers always thank the little people. So tonight, I want to thank the little people who made this night possible. My father, Shorty, my mother, Tiny. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Casablanca is a great movie.
That it is. Respect the classics. Thank you, Chris. And have maybe one or two more people. I just got reminded that James Van Looy and Jan Rowe are out tonight because they had to go travel. And hopefully to gather more family stories. They've been sharing a lot of stuff about their Dutch heritage, and it's been interesting to listen to. Fun to listen to. And Jason Wright said he might try to make it, but we just had a memorial 5K run for his late nephew who passed away, I think in 2009. He said he might stop by, and Bill Lewis actually just had to step out, and he said he'll hopefully be back later. We'll get some closers to the night, but we still have some people who we actually have, I think, 2 people here I've never seen before. And the first one coming up has a name that might seem familiar to some of you. She's actually my cousin's daughter, and she's been on my Facebook friend for years. We got together to talk this past weekend, and she told me she was interested in this, and she's going to be reading somebody else's work, and this will be her first time at the virtual open mic. See, if this is an actual live open mic, if people were walking to the podium, someone like someplace like the Cantab or even our location would give like an extra, roaring round of applause for 40 or 30 claps, but that might actually scare someone here in the Zoom call. So give those virtual claps out, give those reactionary claps to Amanda Parento, who hopefully will be unmuting herself.
Hello, sorry about that. Are you able
No
to
problem.
hear me?
Yes, we are. That your mic's better than all of ours.
It's the gamer.
Yeah.
So it's very nice to meet you all. I generally write short story prose as opposed to poetry, so I didn't have something prepared, but I chose a poem that means a lot to me. It is called The Troublemaking Finch by Len Roberts. A goldfinch is in the juniper fitzers, raising hell for such a bird runt. Branches springing yesterday's snow all over the place, prisms arching from its small yellow wings, his stirring orange feet. And now I see this troublemaker who disturbs the noonday stillness. Is my father's tap dancing on Boney's bar until he stumbles and falls off into another lumber's arms. Her blue sweater and tight black slacks, a beehive of hair that buzzes when he sets a red carnation among the strands. The finch down there making a racket worse than my father's harmonica playing when he was drunk, crumbling into snowbanks on the way home without losing a beat. The tune of an after midnight whine that made the neighbors turn on their lights and hang their heads from the cold windows to shout, "Shut up!" or "Turn it off!" The warbler of Olmsted Street throwing snowballs until the cops would come and chuck him into their car and take him to his other home. His absence then startling as the finches when I looked down to curse him again, only to find him gone. The small wings and maddening black beak, the somersaulter among needled twigs, who had disturbed my peace and brought back my dead father, back with his showing off zipping around in foolishness, his brief yellow streaks, his fraction of an ounce heart.
Bravo, Amanda. That was great.
Neat.
Sorry for the stumbling.
Not a problem. Not a problem.
You aren't
but
the
just-
only one who stumbles.
but just for the record, we do like listening to the occasional nonfiction or essay piece. So next time you come on, you should definitely share one of those.
Okay, I would be happy to.
That's excellent. Thank you again. This is Amanda's online, albeit online open mic debut, I believe. So hopefully she'll come back. So round of applause and enjoy the rest of the show, Amanda.
Thank you.
Yay, Amanda.
And the last person we have is someone I've never seen before, and it's someone who's also joining us by phone. So I'm assuming that maybe Nancy Dodson recommended the number. Otherwise, I have no idea how this person got here. It would be magic at this point. Or the Russians have hacked into my computer and they're listening to everything right now and I'm in trouble. So I'm going to ask, let's see. I'm also wearing very old prescription glasses until my new ones come in. I'm going to ask Norma Gallagher if she wants to unmute and read. Norma, are you there? You'd have to press *6 to unmute.
I
But if
think
you
she's
don't-
just my I think she's just my fan base, but it would be great if you read a poem, huh?
Well, looks like that's not happening, but that is quite all right. We like listeners as well as participants in the open mic, and I think a lot of people have been responding to the or say at least they're instant messaging me in regards to the Stone Soup live stream that's going on in Facebook. We got a lot of shy cats who don't want to be on the open mic, don't want their cameras on, but they do like to listen. So hats off to them if you can hear us. And again, this will be available also as a full-length video on YouTube tomorrow between 8:30 and 9, and hopefully we'll have some announcements for next week's feature. I can tell you this, that Gail Batchelder got back to me. Gail has been a past feature and a participant of many open mics and special poetry festivals, including the Boston Poetry Festival, which takes place annually in the summer. We've had 2 virtual celebrations since summer of 2020. And Gail, alongside Judson Evans, and whoops, let me just fix something up here. Gail, I saw alongside Judson Evans, is an author of a collection of poetry that has finally being published. It's a project that they've worked on for numerous years. So, and there, she actually asked if her, Judson, and a third author whose name escapes me, but it's not it's not someone who I've met before. The book of poems is inspired by cave art. And the third author I just remembered is Susan Berger. Susan Berger Jones. And she alongside Gail and Judson, are going to be debuting this book. And they asked if they could read a Stone Soup. And of course I said yes. So we'll have announcements about that as well. A lot of people are going to be coming back that we haven't seen for a lot of years. The one benefit from the Stone Soup series is that we have been reunited with a lot of people who have otherwise not been able to come because they travel or they have work. It can be an annoying situation, but we're very glad for this. So much so, in fact, that even after the pandemic passes, we'll still be gathering online in one form or another, in addition to hopefully live meetings. And people have been expressing the need to, the want to perform live. I'm still very on the fence as to when we're going to do that, and I don't want to put anyone in danger, especially a lot of our older older writers to be in danger. Oh, but we just got joined by one last person, and it's Jason Wright, who is fresh off the celebration of the completion of the Michael Cherry Memorial 5K, which is hosted by the Oddball Foundation, which is the extension of Oddball Magazine. That's oddballmagazine.com for all you artists, writers, poets who are looking to submit your work to other places. Oddball is not a paying venue just yet, but we do take artists and poets from all over the country and all over the world. We've published from nearly all four corners of the world, and this person is responsible for making it happen. And thanks to his efforts, the Oddball Foundation just helped raise over $3,000 in cancer research fund, and not cancer research. Sorry, that's someone else. That's another fund I'm dealing with. There's also the Michael Cherry Foundation. The Michael Cherry Memorial 5K was raising money for suicide awareness and prevention. So I'm assuming Jason Wright wants to read, so I'm going to hand over the forum to him.
Yeah. Well, I can't read right now. But I can definitely say thank you to you for Chad hosted the event and he was incredible, like phenomenal host. So thank you, Chad. Yeah, we raised over we gave a check to AFSP, American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, for $3,000, but we were able to raise enough money for a scholarship for in honor of Michael Cherry, and also to have money to give to other mental health organizations. So it was a really awesome event, and yeah, I'd like to read. I just can't read right now, but I really appreciated you being there, Chad.
Well, I appreciate you letting me be a part of that. And maybe we can get you right before the end, but we're going to move over to the feature for tonight. He's been very patient listening to all your words, and it's time to hear his. And now, and as I said, Kevin Gallagher is a familiar face to Stone Soup. He was one of the earliest people I helped to feature early in my tenure as Stone Soup host. I've been doing this since about 2005, and Kevin came to me to feature in 2008. So there's been a lot of homecomings this past 87 months or however long we've had the COVID. We've had people like Eric Tate come back to us, Colleen Houlihan, Melissa Castillo, Plenis, who's actually coming out with a new book. I've only had people come back online for the Zoom features twice. Once with Dita Galloway, who celebrated our 50th anniversary back in May. I might ask Melissa to come back because she's coming out with a new re-release of an old collection that is phenomenal. But more on that later. Kevin contacted me recently, and I'm so glad he did. I'm so glad to get in touch and to have people come back. I'm probably going to post a picture of his feature photo tomorrow, because the then and now is just like amazing. It reminds me how old I've become. But it's great that Kevin, it's great that so many people who used to go to the Stone Soup but can't anymore are still writing and still working, because that's the part that matters most to me. For those of you who have never met him before, Kevin Gallagher is a Boston area poet, publisher, and political economist. His newest book of poems, entitled "And Yet It Moves," is out this fall from Mad Hat Press. Mr. Gallagher edits Spoke, a Boston-based annual of poetry and poetics. He also works as a professor of global development policy at Boston University. Ladies and gentlemen, he's come so far and yet come home. Put your hands together virtually, visually, let's say 10 to 30 times for Mr. Kevin Gallagher.
Hey, thanks so much. It's so great to be back at Stone Soup. And if you've got a picture of me in 2008 and you think that I look like I'm a kid, let's hope that the Stone Soup archives don't have the ones from when I used to read in 1990, 1991. I must be wearing diapers in those ones. It's so great to be back. It was great to hear all these great poems from Cummings to people's own work to Yeats, from the folks in the open mic. The first time I ever went to Stone Soup was probably in 1986, 1987. And it would take me 5 to 10 beers to be able to go up there and get the confidence to go up and be part of the open mic. And then myself and some of our friends in 1990, 1991 created a magazine out of Jamaica Plain called Compost, and Jack and Julie took us right in, and we used to do these sort of group things where we'd read poems. We'd have a jazz band headed by Kurt Rosenwinkel for a while, and then the fully celebrated orchestra, while Margie Nickel would literally paint a huge painting in the middle of the whole thing. And we used to just have a blast. And we went at least once a month just to be part of it. And we probably did features, 2 to 4 times a year until about 1996, 1997. And I moved to Gloucester, Massachusetts, and had some kids, got married, and didn't move back down to this area until 2006, 2007. And that's when I read the last time. That was a great homecoming. And Jack, you were out of TT and the Bears by then. You were over at Out of the Blue near the Whole Foods, and Jack wasn't talking at the time, but the first time I'd seen him in a long time, and we had he always had a great hug, but we had the strongest one I ever had, and that was great. It was so great to be part of Stone Soup. And I've actually with Martha Collins, I edited a book last year called Ceremonial Entries with Servina Barba Press, and it's a book of a book of poems by a poet named Joseph DeRoche, who died about a half a decade ago. Joe DeRoche, with Jack and others, was one of the original founders of Stone Soup. Lived in Boston, basically his whole professional life. He was a professor at Northeastern. I'm going to read one poem from that just to start us off, to pay homage to Stone Soup, to Joe DeRoche, and to say thank you to Chad and all of you for having me back. Infant Jesus by Joseph DeRoche. By kneeling down, we get to see close up. An oil lamp hisses, spits, and spills gold light. You nest inside it like a golden drop, a bead of butter in a blacked out night. Incense of milk, warm caramel and blood, slips from your lips and slips, each breath, small size, small wrists and fists. Around you, dung, hay, wood, cold stone, a cough. You open your eyes and look unfocused all around, wide-eyed. We look into that look and catch a glint, where we're reflected, where we watch outside. You close your eyes, you sleep. What is it meant? That's but the lamp we saw. That was his star, we say. That fired fleck, that turn of nebula. Joseph DeRoche, one of the founders of Stone Soup, Martha Collins and myself edited a book of his collected poems, ceremonial entries. I have a new book that's just come out. I put a little link to it in the chat here with Mad Hat Press, and it's called And Yet It Moves. And it's a historical set of poems. They basically take place in Renaissance Italy, just at the end of the Dark Ages, when Petrarch goes on the first leisurely hike of recorded history to Mount Ventoux and loves the wonder of being able to just go for a hike and seeing the horizon, and that spawns humanism and wonder in art and kicks off the Renaissance. And the Medici family, the big bankers of Florence, they give back in the way, to a certain extent, the Rockefellers and the Fords did in the United States, and they financed Machiavelli and Botticelli and all sorts of poets and writers, and sent book hunters out into the monasteries to find ancient books and just have a rebirth of wonder. But then power and money took them over, and they decided, after they had gotten so much money, they needed more, and the only place that was more was the Catholic Church. And so they took over the papacy and started becoming popes and started to soak the population. Martin Luther got so mad, he created a revolution against the Catholic Church, and the Medici got nervous. And so they basically distanced themselves and shut down Galileo, because he discovered that indeed the planets revolved around the sun, not that the sun revolved around the planets. So these poems are a historical travel through a lot of that time and a lot of that space. And not just to be historical, because I see a lot of that happening in the world today. The first poem I'll read is Petrarch on Mount Ventoux, 1336. How much conviction do we have to trample the appetite of earth beneath us? I was invisible and hiding in the darkness. I had no idea how hard it might be, but it doesn't matter with me now. I was moved to wander up the mountain, to see the vast swell of the oceans, to smell the broad waterfalls diving into the rivers, and to live through the revolution of firing stars. I made it to the mountaintop, and I will not stop there. One of the book hunters that the Medici hired to go into the mosques and the monasteries to find all the books that they had in their libraries that they wouldn't let anyone read in search of wonder, art, and love was a guy named Poggio Bracciolini. In 1417, in Fuita, he found the incredible book of epic poem called On the Nature of Things by Lucretius. And that book did not talk about gods, it talked about humans and our humanism. Poggio Bracciolini, Fuita, 1417. The monks copy books onto goat skins while the rest of the world is run by illiterate warlords. We are taken by the book's winds, until we are unaware which is the wind and which is the wind's power over us. The monks are only allowed to read the sacred texts aloud or be silenced by 50 blows. Is it torture not to be permitted to read the books you take care of, or are the titles of them unknown? The books I look for are crawling with worms. Lucretius, The Discovery of On the Nature of Things. It has been so dark you couldn't see me. The Bible shows us how to get to heaven, but it won't show us how the heavens go. I have the slow feet of 1,000 years. I learned by doing what I had to know. We are not the center of the universe. Truth is a testimony of sense. Heaven and matter in the same sentence. Atoms and nothingness and nothing else. History returns. Let go of your hold. You carved Jesus into your chests. You nailed crosses on your backs. There was no chance for pleasure. You could feel pain in every step of life. No more rolling naked in the thorns where no one could hear you cry. No more iron whippings that tear your skin and shoot blood out of your eyes. Take this chalice as a trumpet and blow. Hide your fears at what you used to think were gods. Random atoms wiggle in space and cry beside us in the sky. Nothing put them together. No plan, no desire, no destiny. Atoms are immortal, and yet we die. The last poem in this part of it is I hadn't realized that that The Birth of Venus by Botticelli is actually his translation of a section of On the Nature of Things. And this is my attempt to put it back into poetry. But if you know On the Nature of Things, or if you know The Birth of Venus, that's sort of what this poem is depicting. Rather than walking on water, you glide across a green jade sea, a figurehead painted on the bow of history that has finally come out of its shell. Wind and clouds are quiet in your presence. Zephyr and aura make love in midair. You cover yourself with your golden hair. You look at me and right through me at the same time. The hour is quick to try and cloak you, but the wind and your aura blow it away. The ocean smooths your weary breasts as a quiet peace is restored across the earth. For thee, the world perfumes of seasons. For thee, I paint light on a shining sword. Next section is about the Medici. I'll start with Cosimo de' Medici, the first major financial mogul of the Medici family. Cosimo de' Medici. I, Cosimo de' Medici, a cosmos, divine am I inside and out, and I make holy whatever I touch or am touched from. I know someone always wants to kill me, so I multiply my wealth and might without forgetting that I must be loved at home and across the entire world. If your family attempts to rival mine, I will see to it that you are taxed to death. Anything that I leave behind will remain for here forever. The people of Florence love me, as do the dukes in London, Naples, and Cologne. But just in case, I sleep while heavily armed and switch bedchambers 3 times a night. The Pope said there will be no usury, so I just charge a tiny little fee to ensure myself from default. My florin has 54 grains of gold and can be exchanged for anything sold just about anywhere across the world. I do well to make a client of the Pope, but vow to never go against his will. When I went on to build my first palazzo or palace, I chose David for the court by Donatello. My David is life-sized, bronze, and naked, hand on hip, with a flowering hat and a smile just breaking. One of the things that the Medici did was really renovate the San Marco, the monastery of Saint Marco, and hired Fra Angelico to paint in all the little meditation rooms that the monks are in. If you go there, he paints different pictures, and he also had and so I have a few poems that sort of react to a number of those cells. I should say that my mother, Norma Gallagher, is here tonight, and she's been going through a hard time. And I dedicate tonight's reading to her. And she, the first time I ever went to Florence, I went with her, and we went to see these Fra Angelico paintings. And even though I didn't start writing this book until 2016, I can't remember when we went there, but I think the seed was planted when we went there and into the monastery and saw this. Fra Angelico, cell 3. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Don't be shy or scared of my wings. I have come to you to plant a seed. Don't pull away. Listen. You will give birth to the greatest being. His return will set us free. You have been chosen to be the mother of God. Open your heart, Mary. You will see you are bearing the fruit of a great king. Pray for our sinners now and as we plead at the hour of our death and dying. You have no idea how much love you will bring. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Cell 1. I gasped at as a gardener walked by with a hoe over his shoulder. I almost asked him, where did Jesus go? I have found his tomb, but it is empty. You turned around and called out my name. I dropped to my knees in a cool red glow and started to throw up my hands to hug you, but your finger said, don't touch me. Your right foot had already stepped forward with a graceful face and a golden halo fixed with a growing crucifix inside. You looked back and called out Mary to me. I could tell it was you from all the light. The Medici started to have so much power, suppress the people and be super opulent, that created a populist uprising, led by a priest named Savonarola. A few of these poems are Savonarola. I reveal God's word as it speaks through me. I warn the world of what lies in store. The world is ruled by senseless luxury. Poets make the virgin look like a harlot. The city's two lions maul each other. The lantern on the dome has been struck by lightning. Nowhere a flame. No one's taking sin's blame. Lorenzo summoned me to his deathbed. I told him to repent for all his sins. I demanded he give up all his wealth. He said nothing as death opened up his eyes. How are we supposed to be of the poor when the wealthiest family's influence forms the foundation for all our prayers? This is a time that no one has seen before, of usury, of sodomites and murderers. Every one of you is abhorred by God. The time is nigh when you'll be struck down and suffer the greatest of afflictions. Florence, then, the great den of antiquity. I am the hailstorm that shall smash the heads who dare not duck and take cover from the pending doom of apocalypse. Lorenzo, you have come and gone before me. The Medici take care of this guy and hang him. The last section of the book that I'll read from is called The Starry Messenger, and it's about the Medici and Galileo, about how they first are major patrons of him, sponsoring his science and innovation. But then when it comes between their control of the papacy and their power and Galileo's truth, they decide to side with power and shut down science and shut down truth in very many similar ways as it has been over the past year. I'll just read a couple. I'll have a couple more minutes. Galileo Galilei. Aristotle said a 100-pound ball falling from 100 arm lengths or brachios would hit the ground before a 1-pound ball had fallen but a single brachio. I didn't see why they should double their speed. I imagined they would join hands on the way down. You told me, try that if you will. So I climbed the Leaning Tower of Pisa and dropped my 2 balls to learn the truth. The big ball fell faster than the smaller ball. You all laughed at me, thinking I had been wrong, but the big ball had only won by 2 inches. Ha! I had only made a tiny error. It was Aristotle that made the mistake. Yes, to the infinite amazement of all, I watch the moon stroll every single night. I see your enemy's ships far at sea. Your captains can spy storm clouds on the horizon. The moon looks like a surface of the earth with her mountain chains and deep valleys. We are all lost on fixed and wandering stars. Their globes are perfectly round and bounded. This confirms what Aristotle envisioned. The celestial bodies are perfect spheres, but the fixed stars are not bounded at all. They have rather the aspects of blazes with vibrating and scintillating rays. Earth is the center of the universe. The sun, the moon, and all the planets spin around us in perfect eternity, said Aristotle to Ptolemy. Copernicus said it was we who spin a full revolution every day and travel around the sun each year, the creation of the best artist of them all. But Copernicus only had his books, his naked eye, and a multitude of equations. He so feared the scorn he would face. He spent decades checking his figures. He published his work on his deathbed and was laughed at by a multitude of fools. I observe Venus with my naked eye and keep my telescope on Jupiter to stand watch on the Medici moons. Other philosophers across this earth don't endorse me, but I think I'm a dolt. You say I see optical illusions and that something is off with my lens because your instruments are all blind. The Psalms say, through fix the earth upon a foundation, not to be moved forever. Even Aristotle would change his mind if he could look through this glass that I see. Index Decree, 1616. We have learned of the spread and acceptance of a false Pythagorean doctrine, most contrary to the Holy Scripture, that the earth moves and the sun does not. To ensure this opinion won't advance to the prejudice of the Catholic Church, such books of heresy and error shall henceforth be condemned and prohibited. We suspend all such books until corrected wherever and in whatever tongue. Thou shalt not read them. Thou shalt not own them. Thou shalt not print them. Surrender them to your inquisitors at once upon reading this decree. Thanks so much, everyone. Before I leave, I want to acknowledge Carol Weston, who, if it wasn't for Stone Soup, I would never have met her. I must have met you in the 1980s. And I hope I'm not letting the cat out of the bag. I see John Mulrooney's here too. And John Mulrooney has edited a wonderful section of Carol's poems that we're going to be having in the next Spoke coming out in December. John, if I let a secret out, you know where I am, you can set my house on fire, but it's an honor to be here with all of you. It's great to be back at Stone Soup, and I'm not going to let it be another 13 years until I come back. That's for sure. Bye, folks.
Come back soon. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Round of applause. Put your hands together 40, 50 times. That was amazing. The forthcoming book is And Yet It Moves from Mad Hat Press. I'll be sharing a link to that tomorrow on the YouTube link and elsewhere. Kevin, if you have a PayPal or a Cash App, some of us may want to donate a few dollars. You can put that into the chat as well, and I'll preserve that for tomorrow's postings as well. But your words are much appreciated, and your devotion to Stone Soup to still think of us all these years later is very appreciated. And I'm so glad you brought a lot of people back here. I wasn't expecting John Mulrooney, but it's good to see you. If you want to read a poem, let me know. I think we have 1 or 2 people who want to read because we've been having some technical issues, so people haven't been able to get on, or some people had other pressing matters, such as Bill, who looks like he's coming from the Dark Lord's domain over in the top right of my screen. Yeah, confirmed he is. Okay. So we have two people who I think are going to read for an unexpected second half of the open mic. But above all, please check out the link for And Yet It Moves. Again, that's from Mad Hat Press. And the book is available for $21.95. You can add that to the cart. Man, hopefully as a pre-order, and it should be coming out very soon. We'll be looking forward to that. And Mad Hat Press has some other great books too. I was just quickly browsing through the website. So looking forward to seeing more from them as well. Oof. And it's good to hear about the news of Carol Weston's work. I know Lily Poetry Review is also looking to try and get a collection of Carol's out as well. A lot of things have been kind of thrown up in the air to see when it comes down. But unfortunately, we haven't heard anything from Lily. But it's just great that this work is surviving. That Carol's getting more recognition and getting more publication. This is fantastic. So thank you for that as well. And with that, just to show you how quickly the tone can change around this place, we now bring you to the man with the pointed hat, who has his own open mic spot just to help bring us out. And that man is, that witch of a man is Mr. Bill Lewis.
You foolish mortals, once you give me control of your Zoom, you shall never get it back. Oh. What more holy time is there than Halloween? What season, what experience is greater than that of being bemasked and not being yourself, you're someone else, you know? You don't have to be you when you're wearing a mask on Halloween. You can be someone else who can do things you would never do. No, you're a good person. You would never do those things. But behind that mask, Halloween at the Castro scene. How do those cute little boys survive? The rain, the wind, the cold, the trolls. There are always trolls, you know. Castro on Halloween. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Such slutty little boys showing off almost everything. Technically legal. Myself, I am always legal, just barely. And the glitter. Oh, I love glitter on someone else, like him or her, or whatever that person is. Yeah, glitter. Glitter, my darlings, glitter. Touching. Remember touching? We did a lot of touching. I like touching. I like being touched. All those bodies, gorgeous bodies, crushed together on Castro Street, all that clothing that was not there. Oh, all those places, those happy, eager hands that might go where? Sex. The entire street glistened with sex. Semen flowed behind every door, every street post, hell in the middle of a crowd. Everybody's so horny, everybody's so happy, everybody is so gay. And the throngs mobbing the Twin Peaks bar. A smiling face beckons to me and slides over 6 inches. Just enough to squeeze my little butt in. Irish coffee on Halloween in the Twin Peaks bar. purchased for me by someone whose name I do not even know yet. But judging from the fact that his hand is on my crotch, I suspect that we will get to know each other quite well very soon. Oh, such silly, spinning, laughing, happy, silly times just being. Halloween on the Castro scene.
Thank you very much, Bill. Much appreciated. I'm going to ask if, I was going to ask if Mr. Jason Wright was able to read, but looks like he is not. So I think we have everyone for today and for tonight. We lost a couple of people, but then they came back on, which is great. We also lost. We also didn't have a couple of people come in this week, like Jan and James. So they said, I think Jan was actually checking out the live feed on Facebook earlier. So from wherever they are still with us. And stay tuned for the video of this YouTube channel, this performance to be on YouTube no later than between 8:30 and 9 tomorrow. And definitely go to the link. I'm actually going to repost it one more time for those who may have come in later. So for those unfortunate few who had to bounce back from the call and in again, definitely support Kevin by buying his new book. Any Cash App or Venmo links will be included tomorrow. And stay tuned for more news. Hopefully by the end of the week for our future Stone Soup features. Hopefully we'll get a date solidified for Gail Bachelder, Justin Edfin, and Susan Berger Jones for their collection of poetry. And we are going to keep on going till the end of the year, and we'll see what happens. We'll see what announcements will be made in regards to Stone Soup meeting up again. I know for a fact that we do have some interested parties like Dan Shanahan, who is very involved in Stone Soup in the day and has been part of several of our presentations and features. He's been chomping at the bit to come back, and we're going to do our best to accommodate them, but we're moving forward very carefully because I want you guys to keep on coming back. I want to keep on hearing your words. Take care of yourselves and each other, and stay tuned for more news. This is where we do the obligatory wave for picture Darth. Thank you guys so much. Hey, even John Mulrooney's bear looks like it's waving too. Oh, there we go. So thank you guys very much. Thanks to Amanda for stopping by. Thanks to all the poets who came by. Thanks who were able to stay on, or even who weren't. This Amanda just texted me, you cannot see, but I am waving. That I love it. But and I'm sure all the people on the phone are waving too. God bless them. And stay tuned for more Stone Soup news coming, more projects. Check out the Stone Soup Facebook page. I found a couple of writing contests and submissions for opportunities to submit. I'll be sharing those with all of you. Consequence Magazine, I believe, is accepting submissions as well. A lot of people out there are still doing the poetry, still keeping it out, still sharing. I'm also putting up news of other people's venues, like Tim Gager's Dire Literary Series, which is still taking place every Friday online via Zoom. So to all of you, I say have yourself the best of nights. Thank you so much for your presence, for your attentive ear, and good luck in the next few weeks. It's going to be nuts around here in Boston if the Sox win. God help me. Have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon. The show's over.
Good night, Chad. Thank you.
See you next time.